So I have a question for you today. What if the thing you're waiting for is actually waiting on you? When my podcast hit 2,000 downloads, I decided to celebrate in a way I'd never celebrated before. I took my first solo trip. One woman, one car, one adventure. And somewhere between the mountain roads, waterfalls, quiet dinners, and long conversations with God, I learned some things about courage, confidence, freedom, and myself. Today, I'm sharing my top 10 lessons from my first ever solo adventure and why it may have been about much more than a trip. Hi, friends. Welcome to Taking Back Happy. I'm your host, Gina Granville. God's girl, retired homeschool mom of 4, empty nester, GG, essential oil and exercise enthusiast, Christian life coach, and someone who is taking back her own happy. I know many of you feel exactly like me in these midlife years, a sort of loss of direction, but you feel way too young and vibrant to sit on the porch and just watch life go by. What if you could reclaim your life, finding deep joy, renewed passion and purpose, and plenty of adventure in these midlife years? If you are ready to find your spark again, throw on those walking shoes, pop in those earbuds, and join me right here as we take back happy together. Hi, my Taking Back Happy friend. I want to connect with you. Hop on over to the Taking Back Happy Facebook group. Get in there with some other women who are taking back their own happy. Another way I'd like to connect with you is through becoming a TBH Insider. When you become a TBH Insider, you get weekly emails with the latest podcast, tips on creating a happy mindset, early bird access to special offers, and encouraging Bible devos. I pour my heart into these weekly emails, and I feel like it can be a bit of encouragement for your week. Something to look forward to, bring a little inspiration, that sort of thing. Lastly, we can connect through one-on-one life coaching. This is Christian life coaching. I offer a free 1 hour session. So if you're interested in that, hit me up and I'll give you all the details. Okay, friends, let's get into it. I'm going to share my top 10 things that I've learned from my solo trip. Some will be serious, some will be funny, some will be ridiculous, but hey, that's just me in a nutshell. In no particular order, so let's get right into it. Okay, so number one, I'm going to start on the serious side here. I learned that I am okay being alone. This is a tough one for me. I love being around people. I am an extrovert. I feed off of that energy of being around people. And so this really was a challenge for me to go by myself and do all this by myself. And I realized, you know what? I'm okay. This isn't really scary. It wasn't really, I didn't feel super lonely. I kind of felt adventurous and like I'm trying something new. And so each of the things that I did when I was by myself didn't feel, I don't know what I expected them to feel, but they felt okay. I felt like, you know what? Whether I'm with somebody that I love or with somebody that I know, or even with strangers, because I like to hang out with whoever, or just by myself, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. And I think that's the first thing that this trip showed me, that whether I'm with other people or with myself, hey, I'm not so bad company after all. Number 2, whether you are hiking by yourself or you're hiking with friends or you're hiking with a club, hiking is a community. Everybody's out there for the same reason. It's a place that feels safe because you're all doing the same thing. You're all just experiencing the beauty of God's nature. And I thought it would be kind of awkward to be on the trail by myself, but it really wasn't, because I would be walking by different people and we'd be talking. I just felt safe and I felt connected. And I think that's the point. You can find community in doing things you love. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to get all your friends to go. I love all my friends. I always want to go hiking and go adventuring and all, and a lot of them don't like that kind of thing. So I can wait until they want to do it with me. I can find some new friends that love doing that kind of thing, or I can just go do it myself. And so that hiking community was there and I felt it really strong. Number three, know your limitations and plan for the bad stuff. So on this trip, the bad stuff to me was driving through Atlanta. I hate driving through Atlanta. And I knew by the time that I got through there, because it was going to be a Friday afternoon and people get off early, that I was going to be like right in the middle of all the I know there's rush hour traffic there every single day, even at midnight, but I knew it was going to be really bad traffic. And when I had looked up how long it would take me to get there, it added a full hour to my trip. But I just, I planned for it. It's really mind over matter in this case because it's kind of nerve wracking. And I knew there would be a lot of traffic. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to be safe. I'm just going to plan on it taking a while. I'm not going to get anxious. I'm not going to get frustrated. And I just cranked up the just classic rock and roll. And that just helped me get through it. So, mind over matter. Plan ahead when there's something that you don't like or something that feels yucky to you. Just plan ahead for that. Number 4, get creative. So I wanted to take some like video and take some pictures and things like that just for memories that I wanted to share with people. I definitely want to share in my Taking Back Happy Facebook group. And then I also had some special memories that I wanted just for myself, just, to kind of hide in my heart. And, you got to get pretty creative with that when you're by yourself. It can't be a bazillion selfies, right? I wanted to take some pictures. I wanted to, stand in front of the mountain and do these different things. So I would just prop my phone up on random things. I found like this, it wasn't a trash can, but it was like something that had an opening at the top, like a trash can. And I could just like put my phone up there with the pop socket and it just held it there in place. And then I could either put on, Instagram story, or I could put a timer on for a photo. And I did all kinds of fun things like that. I was very creative. Number 5, I could have missed the pain, but I would have had to miss the dance. Okay, if you know what I'm alluding to, I love this song, and I always refer to this song with like different relationships and things like that. But in this case, it was the pain from hiking because this particular hike had a bazillion stairs. I think it was like 1,100 stairs or something that you had to walk on, and you walked down all these stairs and you got to the gorge, and then you had to walk back up like 350 more stairs to get to the South Rim. And then you walked all the way around. You did your normal hike and you had to walk up more stairs when you got to the North Rim. And so I could really feel it. I could feel it yesterday. I could feel it even more today when I was at work. But, you just think about it. When you're going to do the really neat things, the things that you enjoy, sometimes there is some pain involved. But what's the alternative, right? You could have just skipped that part, but then you would have missed all the beautiful views. So don't be afraid to, go ahead and have a little bit of pain in your life so you don't have to miss that dance. Number 6, courage grows with every step. Like when I was in town and I was walking in the town by myself and I was like, is this a safe place? Is this not a safe place? And right before I walked in there was like this kind of confrontation that happened out on the road, right where I was going to be walking. And this lady was walking her dogs and this other guy's dog got out and the lady was screaming and, wanted to hit it with a stick and get your dog out of here or I'm going to shoot it. And I was like, okay, I thought this is going to be like a safe place to walk down to the little, it was like a little town right down the street. And then I was like, I don't know. They told me it was safe to walk down there by myself. But, one step in front of the other is how your courage grows. And whether you're on a trail, a hiking trail, it's always one step at a time, one step at a time. And that's how we do it in life too. The one step at a time. Every time we step out, we gain a little bit more courage. We gain a little bit more wisdom. We gain a little bit more confidence. So one step at a time. Number 7, when you're on a solo trip, be open to meeting new people. I met some new people while I was hiking. Mostly it was just kind of like small talk about the trails and have you been here before and which side's the best side. And, I had a few conversations along that and it was a lot of fun. And then I met Frank, and Frank was the owner of, it was kind of like, it wasn't a hotel and it wasn't a campground. It was kind of like a combination sort of thing. So it had some cabins, it had some they were kind of like little motel rooms. They were decorated in special ways. There was a yurt, there was a couple other things like that. They had a place where you could roast marshmallows, you could sit outside on your porch, that sort of thing. It had just a really sweet kind of camping sort of community. But Frank was the owner of this place, and he'd been working there for 27 years. He owned the place. And I just love being around people that love what they're doing. And you could tell he really loved being there. He loved the area. He loved his facilities. He was telling me all about those. And he loved the people that he met. He had one of those little books in the room where you could write little notes and tell where you were from and that sort of thing. And even on the morning I was leaving, Frank invited me to stay there and go to church with him. And I decided, I was thinking about going to church while I was up there. And then I was like, nah, I'm going to beat it through Atlanta. I was like, I'm going to make my trip a little shorter on the way back. But he told me this really cool thing, how their church does like a boat church every so often. And so they were having boat church that week. And they had like a big, I think he said it was like some kind of boat that they all get on, or they can sit on the shore. And then some other people will pull up in their boats and they just have church up there. The pastor pulls up in his boat and he does his sermon from the boat, and it's like a 30-minute thing. And I thought that sounds so cool. So it was so fun to meet someone that really enjoyed what he was doing. I think that's just as important for us to be doing something we really enjoy, whether that's, serving in our community, whether that's in our job, or whether that's in our recreation. Number 8, mind over matter. So whenever you have a physical challenge, something that you're challenging your body to do, it actually is a mental challenge. And you can talk to a lot of people, like if they're runners or whatever, and they'll tell you the challenge isn't the actual physical act. It's like the mind, the stuff that goes in the mind, like, oh my gosh, this is like so much further. This is so hard. And one of the things with this particular hike I was on, it had this big warning sign at the top. So it said, warning, strenuous trail. And then it went into details, and it was telling you like, okay, if you want to walk down to the suspension bridge, it's going to require 620 steps. And then it said, if you want to walk even further, it's going to take another, I think it was 1,062 steps to get down to the base. If you want to walk up to the south rim from there, it's another 350 steps. So it had this whole sign. And it was like warning and telling you all about that. It says those with physical limitations shouldn't even attempt this and that sort of thing. But a lot of times, even if you don't have the big warning sign, right, you still need that mindset to be able to do something really physically taxing. And that's a good thing for us to remember, that nothing is too hard if we have the right mindset. Now, I won't say nothing, because I'm sure there are some things, but most things we are able to do with the right mindset, even if it's physically taxing on our body. All right, just 2 more to go. So number 9, once you've done it once, it's no big thing. So this was kind of a big deal in my head before I went. It was a big deal, like a big accomplishment. And it was a big deal like, wow, I don't know. Can I do this? I think I can do this. I'm more excited than I'm scared. But once you do it, you're like, oh, that was no big deal at all. Like, going hiking by myself, no big deal at all. Walking down into the town by myself. Of course, I was alert. I had pepper spray. I had the things I needed. Going to get something to eat by myself. All those sort of things were things that I hadn't done before. But once you're doing it and you're, driving out of town, you're going through Atlanta, all the things, even the good things and the bad things, once you've done it, it's no big thing. You can do it again. It just builds your confidence. It builds your courage. And it just like experience always does that. Once you've done it once, you're like, I got this thing. And I will say as a side note that your body feels the same way when it's excited and when it's scared. So I learned that from Mel Robbins years ago because she had that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And I remember the first time I ever did a live video, I was so scared. I was so like frightened to put it out there. I was frightened to hit go. I kept like waiting and putting it off and putting it off. And finally, my son came to me and he's like, Mom, will you help me study? He was in high school. He's like, I have this test coming up, or maybe it was he was in high school or college. He said, will you quiz me? Because I have this thing tomorrow. And I was like, yes, as soon as I do this video. And so literally, finally, when I had that pressure, I just hit that go button. So once you do it once, just remember it's going to feel scary and it's going to feel exciting, and you get to choose the exciting. You know how I say you get to decide. So you get to decide, I am excited. Okay, and number 10, the 10th thing I learned from my solo trip was when you get home, evaluate. I think this applies to just about anything we do. It's good to evaluate. It's good to look at, okay, what went well? What didn't go well? What would I do again? What would I do differently? One of the things that I would probably do differently is maybe find somewhere that wasn't quite so far away, so I wasn't spending so much time driving. On the other hand, I do love the mountains, and you have to drive a little bit of ways from Florida to get to the mountains. So those are the kind of things that I would evaluate. How much it costs for a rent-a-car. Was it worth that investment? Those sort of things. Evaluate everything. Evaluate the money you spent. Evaluate the time. Evaluate how it went down. Evaluate whether, you did all the things, if you accomplished all the things that you wanted to accomplish. That's one thing that we do. I'm in that life mentoring school. And at the end of each month, we have a planner. And it has just a quickie evaluation. What went well this month? What didn't go well this month? What would I like to see done differently? And that is really a key to moving forward and moving on and just having a beautiful life. My Taken Back Happy friends, thank you for letting me share my story. If you're listening today and there's something you've been wanting to do, something that feels exciting and terrifying at the exact same time, maybe this is your sign, because this trip really wasn't about hiking. It wasn't about waterfalls or mountain views, even though I loved all that, or even driving through Atlanta traffic. It was about discovering that courage that grows when you use it. It was about learning that most of the things we worry about ahead of time aren't really as big as we once thought they were when we walk through them. And it was about realizing that we're often more capable than we think, stronger than we believe, and far less alone than we imagine. And maybe that's true for you too. Maybe your next step isn't a solo trip. Maybe it's starting a business or launching a podcast or joining a group or taking a class or having a conversation, like a light conversation or a tough conversation, or saying yes to something God has been nudging you toward a long time, something he's been laying on your heart. Whatever it is, you don't have to know how the whole journey will unfold. Just take the next step, because on the other side of that step might be a version of you that you haven't even met yet. And she's waiting. She's waiting for you to take back your happy. If this podcast blessed and encouraged you today, I'd love for you to share it with your friends. You can take a screenshot and share it in your stories, but make sure you tag me at Gina Granville so we can connect. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you join my Taken Back Happy Facebook group. I'll meet you back here soon, and we'll continue taking back happy together.